Happy Sunday, you beautiful people. Hope you're doing well. Hope you've enjoyed your weekend so far. I'm in a good mood. Life is good. Do you know why? Because Pierre Poilievre hopped on CTV Atlantic yesterday with Todd BAttis. And Todd, I'll give credit where credit is due. Todd, the interviewer, did a fantastic job conducting the interview. A little less than 10 minutes because it was a good, solid, informative interview. What has been the critique we've heard from the left quite frequently? Well, Pierre Poilievre, he's got no plans. He just does three-word slogans. And that's what you hear a lot from the left. And you know, if you follow the news, you know that that is not true. He has talked about it on numerous occasions of what his plans are, what he'd like to see happen. But we also saw what had happened when he started sharing what he wanted to do. What happened? He shared how he wanted to start selling off federal buildings that are unused and use that for housing. And what the Liberals do, instituted a plan around just that handful of weeks after that. And there was about 2 or 3 different instances where Pierre Poilievre would share what he wanted to do. And then all of a sudden, that just became part of the Liberals platform. And so what did Pierre Poilievre do in response to that? Well, he started being a little more vague. He started speaking more in slogans, started trying to get the points across. And he is doing something that he, admittedly, I'm sure, has seen success in other elections around the globe. Carbon tax, Carney. Axe the tax. Bring it home. These are all things that I know are annoying to people, but they work because they stick in people's minds of what the conservatives are about. And that is what you tend to hear because what happens typically on the left, and it happens on both sides, but you see it more on the left than the right, where they focus on their bubble. They focus on their world. So all they see of Poilievre is if he dresses down a media member because the person asked a stupid question, he had to light them up. Or 2, he says and goes off in the House of Commons. Those are the only 2 times Liberals are actually seeing him do his thing. So the only time they really see him is when he's in conflict or in confrontation with somebody. They've actually never taken the time to go just watch a Poilievre interview where he sits down for 10 minutes. And if they do take time to watch him, they will act in bad faith, make up things, or simply skew and lie about it to be able to get the clicks, get the followers, get the views. So naturally, that's what you'll hear consistently from your friends who are on the other side of the aisle in this one. Oh, he's just, all he does. It's 3-word slogans. He has no plans. And you're just like, are we living on the same planet? Because that's not true. He's talked about the plans. He's talked about what he's wanted to do. And that's why I really liked his meeting here or his interview with Todd BAttis here. We're going to go through 3 points he brought up. And there's 3 reasons why this interview was successful. It was actually comes back down to the interviewer. There was no gotchas. There wasn't trying to corner Poilievre on a specific narrative. There was no intention of trying to be combative. It was just simply asking direct questions, getting to a point and having a tone of curiosity. And that is something we've seen Poilievre react very well to and then give a serious answer on. And that's what I really liked about this interview. And Poilievre shines in the heat of, Mark Carney, he knows what he's talking about. He has plans, even though he's announced nothing. But he has plans, and he has this, the left views him in this lens that Mark Carney's is this really smart guy who knows all these things, and he's going to be the savior of Canada. And there's like Pierre Poilievre knows nothing. And it's like, okay, weird. So that's why this interview was such a win, and we'll get right on into it. The first thing he brings up here is he offers a 3-point plan of how he would address getting Canada's economy back on track and deal with the tariffs from Trump. First off, he talks about how he would be more specific in what he would counter tariff. He would go dollar for dollar. However, he would not tariff the things that would hurt Canadians. He would mainly go after things that we can kind of live without, but still inflict some pain on the Americans. So he had a little more strategy to how he would counter tariff. And again, that's something where him and I will differ on. That's okay. But at least I can appreciate that he'd be strategic on it. But then he gets into points 2 and 3, which I thought were very interesting.
Secondly, I would to pass an emergency, bring it home tax cut on work, investment, making stuff in Canada, energy, home building, so that we can stimulate more economic growth here. 3, we need to become more self-sufficient. That means knocking down barriers, more interprovincial free trade. We have freer trade with the Americans today than we do with ourselves. We have to knock down those barriers, build pipelines, LNG liquefaction facilities to sell our stuff to the world without having to go through the Americans. If they're going to be an unreliable trade partner, we've got to find ways to sell more to ourselves and more to the rest of the world.
Do you see it as a dollar-for-dollar retaliation?
I would say so, yeah. It has to hit hard. And again, we have to be very pinpoint and surgical to make sure we're maximizing impact on the American side while minimizing impact on our side.
And I can appreciate this strategy. What's he talk about? Well, he's talked about we need to pump up manufacturing. Okay, well then how do we pump up manufacturing? Well, massive tax cut on work, massive tax cut on industry, massive tax cut on investment, massive tax cut on energy. These are the things that will allow us eliminate the red tape in these industries, bring industry and bring production back home and start building and getting things to market ourselves rather than always trying to rely on the Americans. And that is from my perspective, you don't need to get much more than nitty-gritty from that. That is a very solid plan, enough for a soundbite like this. He doesn't need to go anything deeper. And the liberals, I could imagine being unfair, like, oh no, but like, how are you going to break down the interprovincial barriers? How are you going to deal with and talk through the relationships with the premiers and how they have that conversation with each other? He doesn't need to get into that in an interview. He talks right here. Promote interprovincial trade, get our resources to market, massive tax cuts in these various industries, and that will allow us to start building things for ourselves and start empowering our dollar once more. I guarantee if Carney's ever asked, if the media is ever so bold to ask Carney, okay, you've talked about how you want to bolster the economy. How? What are you going to do? Give even just an overview plan like Poilievre did here about how you would do it. And I guarantee he would not mention a thing about this industry because they don't believe in it. They don't think it's going to help us. And that is a losing strategy from the get-go. And you know that Carney isn't for real. Carney's a fraud. And if Carney ever said he would do these things, you know he's lying because he's advocated against them for so long. All of a sudden, he's going to change his mind in the middle of an election. That seems to be a bit of a stretch. You know what I'm saying? But then from here to this point on, Poilievre gets into how we have to get into fast approval of resource projects. Again, eliminating the red tape, eliminating the issues that have been coming up. And the issue of Energy East comes up. And would he revive it? And he says, well, there's a lot of drama around that. TransCanada put in about $1 billion and then cut and run. And the question was, well, that was TransCanada's decision. He's like, no, the Liberals killed it. They made it so impossible for TransCanada to do any business that they had invested $1 billion, realized it wasn't going anywhere because their time got getting wasted. And so they went and moved to Texas. That's what they wanted to do. People who have bad faith arguments will always say, well, it's TransCanada that canceled it. It wasn't the Liberals. Look at how the relationship went. You can use the example. You ask a guy out on a date and they keep coming up with excuses of why they can't make it to the date. You reschedule the date 5 different times. It gets to the point, yeah, you took your time, you paid for the Uber to get there, you're there waiting, and they canceled on you 5 times. You spent the money, you invested, but it gets to a point it's like, oh, this person's not serious at all. So yes, I invested my time and my money at this point, but not worth it. So I'm leaving. That's exactly what happened in TransCanada. And so when it comes back to these resource projects, the really cool part is Poilievre takes time and goes into how he would get these projects moving and what bills he would look to get rid of.
I will repeal the anti-development Liberal law C-69, under which it now takes an estimated 19 years to get a mine approved. So here we are with the 5th biggest supply of lithium in the world. We don't mine lithium. We have the 6th biggest supply of natural gas on planet Earth. We don't export a single cubic foot of it overseas. We have the most uranium, the most potash, the list goes on, but because our laws are designed to block projects from proceeding, businesses don't put their money here. We've lost $500 billion in net investment from Canada to the U.S. This is Canadian money building mines, pipelines, business centers, factories, with paying American workers with our money. I will bring it home. We will repeal C-69. My goal is to have the fastest permits for mines anywhere in the developed world.
There you have it. The story behind Bring It Home. We've lost so much business to other countries. We will start cutting regulations and making it very business friendly to encourage businesses to build here back home. So people who are confused by the idea of like, oh, 3-word slogans don't mean anything. There you go. Repeal Bill C-69. And there it is. An act to enact the Impact Assessment Act and the Canadian Regulator Act. Again, this was just another piece of paperwork in the realm and in the vein of, oh, but we're looking out for the economy. But this was 100% designed to discourage investment in Canada when it comes to energy work. So they have this huge process of researching impacts to the environment, impacts to what's happening around the work area that you're looking to explore. And again, it's dressed up as, well, just making sure that we don't do anything bad to the environment, which anybody would agree with. Okay, yeah, we don't want chemicals leaking into the ground causing cancer for years on end. That's not what kind of happened with this. It became a tool, a weaponization to scare off business to other countries. Which brings us to the last question. And this one's really important because it's been such a touchy subject. Transfer payments. Other provinces are loving the transfer payments. Alberta, not so much. They've taken a lot of money has been moved from Alberta to other provinces as equalization. And so the debate, especially through these times where this country's become so divided, especially along provincial lines, is does Alberta continue sending equalization payments? And the question came up with Pierre, will you cut equalization permits? Because Premier Tim Houston had alluded, who's the Premier of Nova Scotia, he alluded to the fact and warned Nova Scotians that equalization payments aren't forever. We also need to start standing on our own 2 feet, and we can't just rely on payments from another province. We need to start building things here at home. And this question was asked to Pierre. If getting into government, does become prime minister, would he end transfer payments?
If you were to be prime minister, will you cut transfer payments to maritime provinces?
That's not in my plan. What my plan is to enrich the maritime provinces by making...
So you won't cut them?
I'm not proposing cuts. What I'm proposing is to grow the economy so that provinces... So we have provinces that are have-not can become have provinces. And there's no reason why the maritime provinces cannot move into the have category by unleashing more production resources, by approving pipelines, natural gas production and liquefaction through a massive tax cut. We need a big tax cut on energy, investment, home building, making stuff in Canada. All of that can make Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and all of the provinces actually could move into the have category. And under the formula, that would make it all more affordable for the Canadian taxpayer.
And that's really all anyone wants, isn't it? To have the opportunity to stand on their own 2 feet, make something of their own, and earn their way of life. It's natural, especially for people growing up in the West, to have pride in doing things for themselves. Not just being handed money or handed a gift or this, that, the other. They've always wanted to be able to earn it, be able to touch it and say it's their own. And that is my favorite part of this answer. He kind of like, yeah, I'm not planning on touching transfer payments. However, I want to improve the economies in Nova Scotia, improve the economies in New Brunswick, improve the economies in PEI so that they can be self-reliant, bring in their own revenue and offset and make taxes cheaper on their constituents. That's what I want to do. That would be the goal. And naturally, imagine if you have all provinces able to stand on their own 2 feet, using and utilizing their gifts and the resources they have in their home provinces, that lessens the burden on Alberta. Transfer payments would just naturally be able to be cut down, and everyone starts getting a lot happier because people are earning their living. They're opening up for business. People will be happy, money will be flowing, and we would actually be building stuff for ourselves here at home. And that, my friends, is why I wanted to take the time to share about this story. I wanted to take the time to cover this interview because the constant rhetoric of he doesn't have any plans, he doesn't know what he's doing, yeah, blah, 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 blah. You know it's false. And you can point to this interview, point to these talking points, and speak to this is what he wants to have happen. Will Carney do this? Or he keeps talking about this fake economy, green economy they keep alluding to and alluded to the past 10 years. Is that what he's going to do more of? Because I can see it right here outside my house. It's doing great. Homelessness is up the most it's ever been. People using food banks, highest it's ever been. Yeah, green economy is doing great for people, isn't it? But anyways, enjoy your Sunday. I'll see you later. I'm out.